This episode of Girl Influence Power is brought to you by Kollectin. Shop or run the world's tiniest boutiques with Kollectin.
Welcome to Girl Influence Power Podcast. I'm your host, Nadia Lee, entrepreneur, jewelry designer, CEO, co-founder of Kollectin, an app that lets you shop influencer and designer labels direct from the source. Thank you for tuning in live on Castbox. This episode is brought to you by Kollectin. Shop the world's tiniest boutiques in partnership with Castbox. Today, my guest is Kelly White, the passionate and fearless CEO of Villa Esperanza Services in Pasadena. Kelly is the CEO of Villa since 2009, and she's worked her entire career working with children and adults with mental disabilities. Not only is Kelly deeply connected to the families she served, many of she's known more than 25 years, I think.
Yes.
And in the last 10 years, she's led Villa Esperanza as CEO and grew its assets by 3 times from its original size and led the organization into the millennium with Hope's Moves Forward campaign to renovate, rebuild, and revitalize the Villa main campus. Last fall, Villa Esperanza celebrated the opening of Phase 1 campus with 7 new classrooms, a multi-purpose room, kitchen, and 2 play yards for its students. Amazing success. Yes. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, so let's just go right in there. For those listening out there, what is Villa Esperanza?
Villa Esperanza Services is a nonprofit, and we actually serve about 750 folks, children, adults, and seniors with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay.
58 years ago, a group of moms came together with the common vision. There were no schools or programs to educate their children at that time with Down syndrome. So they used to, what they used to call back in the day, mental retardation,
right.
which we've gotten away from that,
Right.
negative term. Children were simply institutionalized and cast away. So these mothers dreamed of a place, and they welcomed the special needs children and founded what's now Villa Esperanza Services, and that started in 1961 when we were incorporated. We've since grown and to a thriving multi-service agency, serving 750, like I mentioned, and their families. We're actually one of the very few organizations that offer the whole continuum of care from infants to seniors.
And that's what makes you very, very special compared to some other organization,
it is.
Right?
Yeah, it makes us stand out. We're one of very few organizations that are able to do that.
Okay, so they can literally be here from a child all the way to being an adult and into adulthood and into their old age, right?
Correct. Correct. We have something for everyone.
Right.
And they don't fit into our program. We fit into theirs, which is very individualized, and that's how it really ought to be.
And it's not just here in Pasadena in the main campus. You also have programs everywhere in San Gabriel Valley.
Correct. And also we're out in Ventura County. We've been in Ventura County in that area, just celebrated 40 years of our 58 years of being around.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're all over Southern California.
We are.
So if you haven't heard it, you should hear about it. So now how do parents know about like the current school offerings that Villa has, and when do they seek out Villa?
Well, it just depends on the program that they need. We have early intervention that is vended through the Regional Center System, which is a funding agency that does all the referring for that particular program and our adults.
Okay.
Our school, we deal with 24 different school districts that refer our students to us. And then again, for all our adult programs, are referred through. We're very heavily regulated, so we're referred through Department of Health, Department of Rehab. We have a number of adult programs, including employment services, residential, different day services, and really it's a matter of a lot of times it's word of mouth. Somebody's looking for that the right support, and they might talk to another parent or another caregiver, and say, "Wow, there's something for you at Villa. Check it out.
Right. So when do they leave? Because I know most schools have like a special education program too.
Right.
So when do they leave the school system and come to Villa, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. It depends on if their needs are being met or not at a public school.
Right.
So we're considered a non-public school.
Right.
And so people with, that are in non-public schools can graduate and stay in school until their age of 22.
Right.
But they start thinking about the transition to adulthood and like around 16.
Right.
And thinking about what they want to do.
Yeah. So Villa is really like, it's public school in some ways because you don't have to pay anything to be a student here.
It's
Right.
paid by the school
state,
districts.
By the school districts, right.
There's still a shortfall.
Right.
What that reimbursement is.
And
which
that's
is
why we
have to-
raise money.
That's why we raise money. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So do you have any advice to like help a parent navigate through the system? Like if they're going to a public school right now and their kid is in a special needs program, they feel like it's not meeting their needs. Is there like, what advice would you give to a parent and they saw Villa and they love it here and they want to bring their child? Is that something that they can do on their own, or it has
They
to be
have to
from
really advocate for it, and they
Okay.
have to basically request the school district to make the referral. And
okay.
oftentimes the advocacy efforts is strong enough that they might get a legal perspective to get them in to
right.
Villa.
Okay.
But they would want to do that and look at it like if they're already getting a holistic approach at school. If they're noticing something's different,
Right.
the behaviors increased or decreased, or somebody maybe is isolating at school.
Right.
It's all about communication with that teacher.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, not a lot of people know this, but the statistic for autism is shockingly high. It's like 1 in every 68 children.
Actually, it's 1 in every 59 as of late.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, and that's gone in the last probably 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there are better ways to diagnose now, and people are more aware, right, as
Correct.
well.
Correct.
So I think that's the statistics. Also, it doesn't matter, like people are having children later, and therefore maybe.
There's a lot of different
No.
things out there. Yeah,
Yeah, so all sorts of things.
There's all sorts of speculations on what's really going on.
Right.
So,
Okay.
no.
So yes, I mean, I personally know like 2 or 3 families that have children.
Everyone,
that need,
when you think about 1 in 59,
Right,
somebody's
right.
going to know somebody.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So if you know someone, you should really, refer them or tell them about Villa Esperanza. So at least they can look at all opportunities and, offerings that's out there for their
Correct.
children. Yeah. Or not even children, adults as well.
Adults as well, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's kind of go back to you personally. So I know you're not from California originally. Where are you
I'm
from?
not, so hopefully I don't have an accent. I'm from Minnesota.
All right.
Yes.
And what took you out here in California?
To come out here to get a graduate degree.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, this was not for the work. It was for.
It's actually a graduate degree to get into counseling.
Ah,
and,
okay.
I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay, so you always knew very early on you wanted to help and be in the nonprofit arena?
I actually have been in the nonprofit arena since I've been 18 years old. I've never worked in the for-profit.
Wow. Well, you're very focused.
Aside from in the high school being a fry cook and a dental assistant for my uncle.
Oh,
But,
really?
Right?
Yes. We all have those tasks.
We have those stories.
Those starts, those jobs. So what do you like in high school? Like, are you very determined, or like you already knew from the start, or are you just kind of like flaky? I don't know. I can't imagine you flaky.
You know what? No, I was actually really outgoing. I played sports, volleyball and basketball, softball. I was pretty involved. I was pretty much knew everybody. Everybody knew me.
Right.
I'm from a very, very small town. Keep in mind.
Right.
It's 384 people.
In the town?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That is
Yes.
small.
Yes.
I think there's more in the school.
You know what? Yeah, that's about how many employees we have, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it was and the town was so small. At that time, it didn't have any street names.
Oh, wow.
So I actually grew up on a street that was known as Hungry Run,
Oh.
because back in the day, people had to run home from school to eat their lunch. Oh. So people just referred to it as Hungry Run.
Oh, how cute. Now, do they have street names now?
No, Nadia, you can't make that up.
I know. Wow.
Yes, they do have street names now.
But we can't even imagine that now. Like, yeah, especially the kids nowadays. They can't even imagine the days when they had a rotary phone.
Oh, you're right. Or back in the day with the pager, right?
Right. Oh, yes. I had one of those. That was my high school thing. If I got a pager, I was like in heaven. And then we made all these emojis, right, that were out of like the letters,
right,
on the pagers. Well, I did a lot of that.
But you'd
in
have
high
to
school.
find a payphone at the time.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, yes, we had to find a payphone, right?
Now we're just aging ourselves.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true. Now, let's take you back to your first days in working with adults or children with mental disabilities. Now, what was your first job and how was that job?
My first job was when I went away to the university to get my bachelor's degree, and I started working at a residential facility for emotionally disturbed adolescent boys.
Oh, okay.
So I was like 19 working with adolescent children, which was very difficult because it could have been pretty intimidating.
Right.
And with working with boys that are having challenges.
Right.
And I was close in their age, but it worked out really well.
And it didn't discourage you at all.
It did not discourage me. In fact, I continued that path in a lot of different arenas.
Right.
After I finished my bachelor's degree, I then moved out to California.
Oh, okay.
And then it continued.
You continue on too, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read your bio.
Okay.
It's like,
Thank you.
know a lot about Kelly, about her education.
I did.
So now there's a lot of pressure, and people talk about like the modern society bringing a lot of pressure on kids. Does that have anything to do with mental illness?
I just think that, and say something more
Like,
about that.
It's like children with disability, can it be, would it be affected if you had more or less societal pressures on you? Or is it just something you're born with and the stressors, and not necessarily because of where we are, like the modern facilities,
right.
or, it's the disability itself.
We do have, we have a lot of children and adults that might have another diagnosis of mental illness too. So, but their primary diagnosis is developmental.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. And now, caring for those with disabilities and illness is extremely difficult. So is there a moment where, and also you're a CEO, not just, like in leading the way, is there any moment where you feel like, wow, this is really hard, and like you just kind of want to say, why did I get into this?
You know what? There are days
Right.
and challenges, but one of the things about leadership, I believe, is and being a CEO or what have you,
Right.
You have to leave that outside the door before you walk in.
Right, exactly, because
Right.
everyone else is looking to you,
Correct.
right, as the CEO.
Yes,
So
right.
you can't bring that into the equation.
Right.
I
And
totally
you
relate. Right.
You have to try to, that life-work balance as
Right.
well.
Yes,
because
exactly. Exactly. Even if you're having a bad day, you can't bring it in.
You can't show that. Yes.
And we know we all have bad days.
Yes,
we are
do.
human too.
Yes, everybody is. Everybody is.
Right. And
Yes.
then there are just those days. And how do you deal with those days when you have your ups and your downs?
I just try to breathe. Take a deep breath and maybe talk to somebody,
Do you have a routine or?
Get up in the morning, obviously have a cup of coffee, no more than one. And I'm generally up for a little while before I go to work and just kind of chill a little bit.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So it's your way of kind of starting the
Right.
day. I think everyone needs that.
Or, you schedule something ahead of time about a mental health day.
That's true.
Right.
That's actually a very good idea.
Because sometimes you can tell when you're getting burnt out a little bit. Or
Yes.
your colleagues will say, what,
Yes.
Kelly, you might want to think about taking some time off.
When they tell you that, you
Yeah.
really should take some
Correct.
time off.
I listen to them. Yeah.
Right. So we live in a world where the word inclusive is always in our heated debates. So having seen what you've seen, what would you like people to know about being inclusive of people with developmental disabilities?
Inclusive means that they're working and they're playing and they're in the community, whether that looks like they're working at Vaughn's or working at a theater or working in an office. It means that they're volunteering, they're giving back to the community. It makes them feel really good. And one of the other things I think is when there's more inclusive in the community is more aware of folks that have developmental disabilities.
Exactly.
And they're accepting of them.
That's
and
true.
Not to fear.
That's very, very true. Yes.
Because what we often fear sometimes that we don't know.
Yes, exactly.
And we have, of course, a lot of folks that don't necessarily look like they have a disability. But they might have behaviors that look repetitive or flapping or some kind of erratic behavior. And so that gets to be somewhat of a challenge. But it's really person-centered. It's individualized. Whatever that person likes to do or wants to do or looks forward to doing, we try to tap into that person's.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Now, so an institution like Villa is heavily reliant on government grants and private donations, of course. So the amount you have raised for Villa year after year, it's actually a lot.
Yes,
it puts a lot of business owners like myself who, like we go out and we raise money for our startups to shame. So do you have any tips or share with women what it's like to have to raise money, whether it's for a nonprofit or for any business in general?
Well, first of all, I think it's good to have diversification of funding, not be so heavily governmental funding, especially for nonprofit. But it's about passion. It goes back to about what the mission is, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit. They want it to succeed.
Exactly.
And, maybe a couple tips about one of the best things to do is have face-to-face meetings for with people, and bring them in. Possibly to come on board with your mission.
Exactly.
And so that you get buy-in. And then circle around. Thank them. Send a personal note. It goes a long way.
It does.
It does.
Yeah, especially in this very tech-savvy world.
Yeah,
people
there are people that still like to get a note in the mail.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, or even just like a reach.
Or a phone call or emails. Say thanks for checking this out. I mean.
Because the technology actually pulls us apart rather than bring us together. Because now you feel like I can just text her, or I can just, Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first got our cell phones, we just pick up the phone and call. But now, even nowadays, I'm seeing in the business, people are like, "Can I text you before to see if you're ready for a call before we actually hop on a call?" It's like there's all this distance now, right?
Well, people you see at restaurants, they sit across from each other and they're texting. They're not even talking.
Oh, yes. My little brother does that. In a family dinner, he puts his phone, he's texting. My dad's like, "What are you texting?" Now, did you ever feel like there was a glass ceiling for you in your career path?
You know what? Probably the only barrier that comes to mind is time. This doesn't seem to be enough time to get everything done. And it's basically an unofficial unofficial barrier, right?
That's true. That's true. I totally agree with you. Yeah. You want to do more because you're passionate about getting things done, especially as CEO. We're always about getting things done.
Well, that's why we have, we surround ourselves with great
people,
others.
yes.
Sometimes we surround ourselves with it's good to surround yourself with people that do different things than you do. You don't have groupthink. And, you just have to look at the bigger picture. And,
because as a leader, you can't do everything, even though we like to, but we can't.
I can't.
And we need to learn how to balance
I always say there is no I in team.
Yes.
So there is, but there's in win. I don't know.
That's true. Totally agree. All right. So we're going to take a little quick break here, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can try before you buy on Kollectin. Introducing Experience, the new way to shop jewelry. Flaunt your style and express your creativity with Experience. Get it today, only on Kollectin.
All right, we're back with Kelly White from Villa Esperanza Services here in Pasadena. She is the CEO here. So we're talking a lot about building companies now. So let's talk about what's important for building a company, which is the culture. So what do you think is the culture here at Villa Esperanzas that you built?
I think, like again, I said earlier, surrounding yourself with other leaders
Right.
that do different things for the organization and come
Right.
together. It's all about teamwork. We try to promote a culture of honesty. Obviously, we're transparent.
Right.
I actually gave myself another degree. It's an MBWA.
What's that?
Manage by walking around. Because it's really, really important to see what you do. And it's
Right.
important for the staff and employees to see
Yes.
you and especially know their names.
That's true. That's very important.
We've been very, very fortunate here at Villa to have a lot of folks with seniority here.
Right.
A lot of our leadership team
Right.
has been here a long time.
Right. And then, I mean, definitely because I know you guys. So I know you guys, like, the number one thing is you guys do care a lot.
We care a lot, and you just have to have the passion.
Right,
You
right,
have
right.
to have the passion, and also I really insist on humor.
Ah,
Yeah,
I like that.
It's good to laugh.
right,
and,
right. Because there could be some tough days.
Yes.
Now, I imagine it's extremely difficult to find someone with the right skill set to work at Villas. So what tips do you have on hiring the right people and the right type of person to be in your culture here?
It just depends on what position they're interviewing for, but oftentimes we find it very important to ask situational questions.
Okay.
And obviously for our population, we give scenarios, see how people respond.
Right.
And we'd want for them to know what our culture is.
Ah, okay.
And you get a flavor for what their personality is like.
Right.
And their experience. And so we oftentimes will have them write something up.
Ah,
just
okay.
to see what their skill set is, depending upon the position.
That's true.
And
Actually,
so
you'd
you
be
can see
surprised.
their writing.
Right. You actually
Right.
be surprised about the writing skills
Correct.
nowadays.
Right. You'd want somebody that obviously is going to apply for a grant writing position to be able to write.
Yes,
Correct. So-
exactly.
but you'd want to know that ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
You'll be surprised. Even basic computer skills nowadays.
Yes, that too.
Yeah,
That too.
because they have a lot of phone skills, not necessarily computer skills.
Right.
I've actually come across a couple of those circumstances where you think everyone's just a given. If they're young, they're computer very literate or very
Yes.
able, but it's not
That's a big
necessarily.
assumption.
Yes, that's a big assumption.
Right. Yes, it is.
Yes,
But
because
you also look at body language.
Yeah,
too,
that's
you know?
true, that's
You
true.
know, people making eye contact with you.
right,
and, you know, just
right.
how comfortable. A lot of times, the first interview is not as comfortable for people.
That's true. That's true. Like the vibe, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
like this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you actually, the icebreaker that I give during interview, I'm just gonna give it to you. Okay. So if you have anyone you could bring to the table for dinner, who would you bring, dead or alive? Anybody. I'm gonna throw one out there, a job interview question to break
Probably
the
Warren
ice.
Buffett.
Really? I want to know
many
why.
reasons.
Okay. Can you name a few reasons?
Capacity.
Oh, wow. He does do a lot.
He does.
He does
He's
do a
fully-
lot.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. And he's great vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great vision. He gives back. He gives back to the community a lot.
Ah, okay.
He's very transparent about what he does,
Okay.
and so
Okay. So, Warren, if you're out there listening, you got to give back to Villa Esperanza
Please
Services here in
think about
Pasadena.
us. Yes.
You're Kelly's dinner guest in the virtual world of having a guest to your home. Okay. Now, so can you describe any women in your life that has influenced you, and who is she and what is she like?
Well, I have a couple. Just growing up, my mother was obviously influential in
Right.
terms of family values,
Right,
morals, spiritual beliefs, what have you. Very, very strong and independent woman.
Okay.
Another one that influenced me growing up is also my grandmother. She was really a woman well before her time.
Right.
She was very successful and worked for the railroad
Right.
in Minnesota. And there were very few women that were hired. And she ran the whole payroll department. She was the first woman to ever do that in the railroad. So
especially back in the days.
Back in the days.
Right.
Yes. I'm talking like 30s, 40s. So that she was very inspirational.
Yes, very, very
But
much
I do have a particular person that's still in my life who is the executive director of Lanterman Regional Center. And she hired me before I came to Villa.
Oh.
And so I was a case manager that worked for her. And I actually had all the residential folks that were served at Villa on my caseload. And so she taught me a lot of things about the developmental disabled world.
Oh, okay.
She's very strong. She also uses humor in her management style. Very wise. Been in the business a long time.
Oh, that's
really a
nice.
great mentor. of
Yeah.
mine.
Well, she's got good eyes.
And she thank you.
To pick
thank
you.
She might say something different, but it would be so humorous. Her humor.
Now, being a CEO, everyone just thinks CEOs are extroverts. So do you consider yourself an extrovert or introvert?
I would say I'm an extrovert, but I probably evolved a little over time because there's a time and a place for that.
Right.
And it's finding that balance again.
Right, exactly.
And it depends on who your audience is.
That's true. That's very true.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would tend to, if you asked others or you asked my friends, they would say definitely I'm a more outgoing and extrovert.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it's important because you're going to have to be able to communicate with people.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. But then I think we all have our introvert moments, right?
Yeah, usually when I get home after work at night, I don't like to go back out for a while.
That's true. There are days I just don't want to talk to anybody because I've
Correct.
had a rough day at work too. And I just want to watch my dramas on Amazon for 10 hours in a row.
Right. There was something to be saying about watching mindless TV too.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have anything like that to take your mind off of the...
I don't know. I did the reruns with The Good Wife and
I love that.
Yeah. It's just... And like Chicago PD or what have you.
So how important is education to you when shaping your career path? Because I think a lot of young kids nowadays feel like, oh, you know what, I can just, be a YouTuber, be an influencer, and I don't have to finish high school or, finish college, and I can make lots of money. How important is having education in your life? Well, for me, I think it's ongoing. You're constantly relearning all the time, and education is extremely important. Obviously, in my position, you have to read, right,
and you want to stay on top of your game,
right.
And so I would encourage young people to get an education. Also, education might mean for them a vocational trade. We still need air conditioning folks, and
yes.
There's
very true.
There's
very
trades
true.
out there that I don't think will go away.
Right, very
and
true.
So,
very true.
That would be an educational,
an
educational piece.
Yeah,
and planning ahead, forecasting.
Right.
I was lucky to have a career path that I knew what I wanted to do.
Right.
I thought I knew wanted to be counseling in the second grade. So I never deviated from that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So you're very focused.
Well, I'm not. Well, I was focused about that. Let's just say that. We'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Was there kind of a class in school that you didn't take that you wish you have taken now that you're a CEO?
Probably more of a business, more MBA kind of style class.
Okay.
Maybe in public administration.
Okay.
Because a lot of it was a lot of psychology and sociology and counseling, but that also helps my work here as well.
Right.
A lot of times families have difficulties.
Right.
The clients have difficulties, and just knowing how to talk with them.
That's true. That's true.
And listen.
Yeah.
Listen to them.
That's true.
Because it is a grieving process.
Right.
If you've just recently had a child that's been diagnosed.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
It's important for them to have somewhere to go.
Okay. So as a CEO, you have to have lots of knowledge in a little bit of everything.
You try to, and then
Right.
again, it's if you surround yourself with folks that have a different knowledge, that's good too.
Right. Because you got to know your numbers too.
Right. You got to keep your pulse on things and look at the finances and look at your programs. And,
Yes, exactly.
And it's all about forecasting.
Right.
There's a lot of unmet needs in the community, and look at what your competitors are doing.
Right.
How
That's
they're doing
true.
it. But your competitors are also your partners.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's
so
true.
you have to, being really collaborative. If
Right.
they don't know the answer,
Yes.
I can maybe go to a colleague, or I can go to Melinda, who I just mentioned earlier,
Right.
that mentored me. And so
Yeah, so
that would
that's
be-
important. So that connection, that community, and
that community
support,
connection is really huge.
Right.
Yes.
Now, do you think there is a generational shift in attitudes when it comes to giving? Like, is like the generation before us more giving, or is the younger generation a little bit less giving?
You know what? I don't know about the stats on that. My personal feeling about it is if you grow up in a philanthropic family, and that's instilled in you, I think that you're going to end up doing that. But there's so many different generations.
That's true. I totally agree. It comes from
And there's probably stats out there for that.
Right.
But just also in giving back, we have a lot of volunteers that come from schools and do their community.
Right.
And so I think that's been really beneficial
Right.
both ways for our kids that are disabled and kids that are typically developing. They're great role models for each other.
Right.
If nothing
That's
else,
true.
they leave humbled.
Right. Exactly.
Or they go on and get their education.
Right,
And they
right.
go to become a speech therapist, or they go and become a special ed teacher.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think that philanthropic part comes from the family and bringing the kids and exposing them to that very early on, so that they can see what it's like to be giving, to be kind of participating in that whole process. And it's harder, I think, to change the minds when they're older unless they personally experience it. I feel this is my personal opinion.
That's my personal opinion too.
I know.
So I
we're
would agree with
CEOs.
that.
We're very PC about everything. So a big part of Villa's success is due to its really strong sense of community. So with all this impact on technology, do you think has it affected Villa in any way? Because all this thing with social media, I mean, how do you handle all this social media stuff?
You know what? It's been huge for us, and especially in the last few years, because we're doing more social media.
Right.
I think that like my story about Natalie, with eye gaze, and also a lot of our children or our adults, if they can't communicate, the iPad, just talking about technology has been able to give them a voice.
And if we don't tell that to the people outside, they would never know about Villa Esperanza and how great we are. Right. Because with social media, you can get the word out, you can get the stories out.
And you get your stories out. And we do e-blast and do our success stories, and that's really been it's been great.
Right. And
we've had some really great response.
Right. And you guys
then they share.
Yes.
And then they share.
Exactly.
And it continues.
Yes. Right. So if of course.
It's called friend raising.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have to follow Villa Esperanza on Facebook, you guys are on Instagram too.
Yes, we are.
Everywhere where social media is available.
Yes.
Okay.
We continue to do we'll do a better job. Yes.
Well, I'll fill up some of your social media with some
great.
of my podcasts.
Thank you.
I'll put photos, whatever I can get my hands on.
Thank you.
Videos.
Much appreciated.
No problem.
On behalf of Villa Esperanza Services.
Oh no,
we appreciate
love to help. You know how I am.
Yes, yes.
My entire company is based on this whole culture of care too.
Yes.
So I have a great team of caring people. My staff
That's
is
wonderful
too.
Yes.
So we all love to help. So any way we can help.
Well, thank you.
We'll bring our community. Maybe it's kind of noisy though, our community of brands and influencers.
That's okay. We're kind of noisy here too. There's usually always a party going on in one program or another.
That's true.
Right, so.
I know there's one exciting one coming up for Halloween.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Every program, of all 10 of our programs, everyone is having an exciting party on Halloween.
Oh, that's nice.
People like to dress up. The kids dress up. Adults dress up.
Oh.
And it's really It's really great.
Right. No, it's nice.
It's part of the culture. It puts the you in fun, right?
Right. The humor that you talk about. Right. Now, does specialized education and support make any difference in the development of these children?
I think again, it goes back to the holistic approach. It's person-centered. Like I said, one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
And we're just very lucky to have some really great teachers and staff that have the right tools to focus in on what that individual that might need to best succeed.
All right.
And whatever that looks like.
So if the genie lamp fell on your lap, any wishes for Villa? 3. Since it's a genie lamp.
Yes, it's a genie. Yes, one, I think it goes back to the inclusion, about having our folks out in the community as much as possible, and the acceptance of that. Obviously, looking at the rate reimbursement of our funding sources that we get, the governmental and the state funding, it's heavily regulated, and the rates have been like 20 years old. And so they're expecting us to continue to do business as usual. Even though, even though we're a nonprofit, you still you go but with your mission, but you're still a business.
Right.
A nonprofit doesn't mean you can't make a profit.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Exactly.
So,
and you still need to operate, and
we
things
still need to
cost
operate,
more now than 20 years ago.
They sure do.
Yeah,
They sure do. So that whole system, and that comes back to advocacy and being out there meeting with local legislators and state senators and what have you, and saying, as a uniform voice with other providers and other regional centers saying the same thing. The system can't sustain. So looking at the rates, the lamp.
Yes.
I want the genie to do something with those.
Right.
And also finish the capital campaign.
Oh, yes. We got to get the buildings up. All of them, not just part
Build them
one.
and they shall come.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And we have big plans for big buildings here.
We do.
Yeah, so we need lots and lots of money, a lot of fundraising events to make that happen. So private donors, you hear us. We're asking for the genie and the lamp to make it happen. Now, what can we look forward to Villa in the coming years?
I think a brand new campus that's finished, what you just talked about.
Right.
I think continuing with the cutting edge programs and forecasting the unmet needs of the community. Looking at we need program growth.
Okay.
And continue with our community involvement.
Okay.
And being out in the community, having the community know more about what Villa does.
Right.
And increasing our social media.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Awareness. All out
Awareness.
there. Yep. In the public.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today and sharing with the audience everything about Villa Esperanza and a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
So you're very inspirational for the women starting out, especially in the world of nonprofit and helping the community and aspiring to be leaders that makes a difference and impact in our lives. So for all of you out there who haven't followed Villa Esperanza on Facebook and Instagram, you need to do it now. Villa is an amazing organization that really cares about its clients and about everyone here, the staff, everyone. So please get involved. And if you're interested on getting to know more about Villa Esperanza, please go to their website, www.villaesperanzaservices.org. And if you like what Villa does for its clients and community, please donate. A donation is very much appreciated. And you can go to their website and on the upper right-hand corner, press the donate button, and every penny counts. Thank you very much for coming on to our podcast today.
Yes, thank you.
And also for those who enjoy our podcast, please subscribe to our podcast and check out our videos on website girlinfluencepower.com or on Kollectin's YouTube channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in live today at Girl Influence Power, brought to you in partnership with Kollectin and Castbox. Bye.
Bye.